Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take my little skirt. Now, of course, this skirt would fit nobody because it's just a sample. And so we're at step number 3, and I'm going to put a row of stay stitching at a 1/2 inch along one long edge of the skirt, and that will become the top edge. So there's a few places we always want to do stay stitching, and the top of a skirt is one of those places because it can stretch out of shape very easily. So I'm going to go over to the machine now, and we'll work on that. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and stay stitch the top edge at a 1/2 inch. And you might say to yourself, why a 1/2 inch? Well, I'll tell you. Because when we stay stitch, wherever our seam is, we go 1/8 of an inch into the seam allowance so that our stay stitching doesn't show, but it will still stabilize. So find your 1/2 inch mark on your sewing machine and go ahead and regulation stitch length and go ahead and stay stitch. And this will become the top edge of our little make-believe skirt. I should tell you a funny story while I'm doing this. When I was in college, we made half-scale samples, and I took them home, and my little 2.5-year-old niece decided that I made them for her. So she kept trying to wear them. But they were actually woman size, half scale, so you can imagine. They did not fit, but she had fun trying. Okay, so I've done my stay stitching, and now I'm going to go to step 4, and I'm going to sew the 6-inch side right here, and I'm going to sew that at 5/8, but I'm only going to sew for 1.5 inches because I'm going to leave the top half open as if there was a zipper there, because on your skirt, when you put on a waistband, the seam, like center, usually you put your zipper into the center back seam, and you sew your skirt seam together until the zipper starts, and then you stop. Or if you have a centered, you would just put your zipper in. So then you can open up the skirt and get into it. Plus, we need to be able to open it up to be able to put in our waistband. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark 1.5 inches. So it says here to leave a 4.5 inch opening. So if I sew 1.5 inches, and I'm going to just put a pin there, right here, and that should leave 4.5 inches open, and it does. So now I'm going to go to 5/8 now because I'm doing a seam. And remember to back stitch. This is a permanent seam. So I'm back stitching. When I do stay stitching, I don't back stitch. And I like to start inside my fabric a little bit, and then I like to then stitch to the end and then go forward. So I'm only going over, my back stitching is, I'm only going over it like twice. And so I'm going to do, now I stop here and I'm going to go back about 2 or 3 stitches. And we're good. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is, okay, so we're on step 4. So I sewed the 6-inch side for 1.5 inches. And now I'm going to press the seam open, but I'm going to press the edges back as if there were a zipper there. Okay, so when I press a seam open, I'll just move right over here to this little iron and hope that it is ready to steam. Yep. So when you press the seam open, I'm just going to lay it out like this, and I'm going to press that, and I'm going to press this back 5/8 and this back 5/8. Okay. All right, and I'm going to measure it to make sure I got it the right amount, because I was kind of leaning into this. And that looks great, and that looks great. So we're finished with step 4.